The NBA Draft is a night that basketball players of all ages dream about growing up because hearing your name called by the commissioner on that stage represents dreams coming true and goals being accomplished. It marks the beginning of a new chapter in these young players' lives, and is a memory that will stay with them forever. But while so many dreams are coming true in that building, it's not the case for everyone who submitted their name into the draft. This year, only 58 names were called, and every season we see a few examples of players that got glossed over during this process going undrafted, only to work their way into an NBA team's rotation regardless, and prove everyone wrong, which brings us to today's video. Today we'll be discussing 5 undrafted players from the 2023 NBA Draft that I believe have the talent to prove everybody wrong and carve out a role at the next level. Before we start though, it turns out a good amount of you watching right now aren't even subscribed to the channel, so if you enjoy the content, consider hitting the subscribe button, as not only does it help out a ton, but I also very much appreciate it. Now with that being said, let's begin. The first undrafted player we'll be discussing today that I believe has the talent to overcome this hurdle is Oscar Tshiebwe. Tshiebwe just finished his collegiate career as one of the greatest rebounders the college game has ever seen. He started his career at West Virginia before transferring to Kentucky, and in the last 2 seasons at Kentucky, he led the nation in rebounding both years, grabbing 15 per game in 2022 and 14 per game this past year. In 2022, he was the unanimous player of the year in college, and what more than likely hurt his draft stock is the combination of how he's one of the oldest prospects in this year's draft class, and offensively he's not necessarily a diverse scorer. However, the reason why I think he can definitely help an NBA team, even if it's just as a backup center, is because he is ridiculously strong. His overall footwork has taken major strides forward every year. He plays with a non-stop motor, putting pressure on both the offensive and defensive glass, creating a ton of second chance opportunities, and reeling in contested rebounds when necessary, and with a 7'4" long wingspan, those long arms can make him a very active and pesky interior defender, blocking shots and cutting off passing lanes. The Indiana Pacers scooped him up and signed him on a 2-way contract after the draft, which I think can be a pretty good fit for him, as the Pacers continue on with their rebuild. The next undrafted player I believe can make it in the NBA is Adama Sunogo. Sunogo just anchored the March Madness champion UConn Huskies this year, and he did more than enough, I thought, to at least come away as a second-round pick in this year's draft during that title run. He has incredible touch around the basket and good hands that he uses to finish very efficiently at the rim, and he's so strong that he does a good job converting through contact. Not only that, but he's well aware of how the modern NBA game is trending, and showed that he could reliably space the floor with a fluid jumper from the perimeter. He shot 61% from the field and 37% from 3 this past season, and he did so while also scoring about 17 points per game and grabbing 8 rebounds a night too. The reason why he likely went undrafted is because he does have some concerns defensively, because he's not the quickest big man in the world, but he reminds me a lot of Thomas Bryant in the NBA, who has been in the league for 6 years now, and has had some very productive seasons. Sunogo and Bryant are both very skilled offensively, they're both a similar size, they're both capable shooters out to the 3-point line, and they're strong big men who rarely get out-muscled. Defensively, they both have some lapses here and there, but it's not the end-all be-all of a good backup center. The Bulls brought Sunogo in on a 2-way contract, so he'll be heading to Chicago hoping to turn some heads. The next undrafted player that I believe can prove everyone wrong and make it as an NBA player is Timme. Timme has been one of the best players in college basketball in each of the last 3 seasons for Gonzaga, and he's a classic example of a player who is getting overlooked because he's a 4-year guy that isn't jump out of the gym athletic, but the fact of the matter is that Timme is a damn good basketball player, which is something that gets overlooked occasionally in the draft. Timme is one of the most skilled big men in this class, having just averaged 21 points per game, shooting the ball 62% from the field, and he's a handful for opposing defenders to try to slow down. The thing that likely held him back from getting drafted includes the fact that he doesn't shoot many threes, and his game is much more built like a traditional big man that isn't really utilized as much as it once was in the NBA. With that in mind though, there is a lot that he can contribute at the next level, as he's a solid shot blocker, blocker, he does the little things to help teams win games that go unnoticed, and he's got good court vision and passing instincts for a center as well, so he's not going to force things and make the right play. The Milwaukee Bucks brought him in on a two-way deal after the draft, and they actually have a few openings in their depth chart up for grabs, so he could possibly take one. The next undrafted player I think can make it in the NBA is Turquavion Smith. Smith was North Carolina State's leading scorer this past season, putting up about 18 points per game, and what he brings to the table is someone who can get hot quickly and ignite an offense. He's one guy I'm actually completely shocked to see go undrafted, because he was viewed as pretty much a lock to be a second-round selection in most mock drafts that I reviewed, and in some cases, there were talks about him getting first-round consideration. He's comfortably pulling up from deep three-point range, he was one of the best shot creators in the mid-range in college last year, and when he gets going, he is so tough to stop. So at the NBA level, he should be able to find a role being valued as someone who could thrive in a sixth-man role for a team in need of instant offense. The reasons why he likely got passed up completely is because he's not necessarily the most efficient player, and his shot selection can get a bit reckless, but he reminds me a lot of Bones Hyland, who shares a lot of the same strengths and weaknesses, and while Bones has seen his role fluctuate in the NBA, he is still someone comfortably making a name for himself in the league. The Philadelphia 76ers brought Smith in on a two-way contract after the draft, after not having any selections throughout the night, so they may view this addition as sneaky value to find. And finally, the last undrafted player we'll be discussing today that I think can carve out a role at the NBA level is Ricky Council. Arkansas produced 2 first-round selections this year, with Anthony Black and Nick Smith getting all of the attention, but Ricky Council was actually the team's leading scorer this year, ahead of both of them. What makes Council special is his ability to put constant pressure on the rim and absolutely explode around the basket for high-flying finishes. He's a superb athlete who moves well off the ball and is crafty enough on the ball to create looks for himself. What held him back as a draft prospect is his inconsistent shooting, as he shot just 30% from 3 throughout his collegiate career. His jumper isn't completely broken by any means though, and defensively, he competes hard with a good frame and good size for a wing player. As I mentioned, the Philadelphia 76ers didn't have any draft picks this year, so they made quick work of adding some of the best talent available afterwards, and along with Smith, they also brought Council in on a two-way contract to give him a chance to prove himself and possibly earn a spot. And with that being said, that's all I have for you today. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below who you think some of the best undrafted players were from this year's draft. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.